I'm coming to you with my annual roundup of the year. I, in 2020, read very few books indeed. Well, it felt like few books to me. I know that it's all relative, right? But I felt like I didn't do as much reading as I wanted, so I made my goal for 2021 to be one book more than I actually managed in 2020. Most of my books in 2020 were read before the plague struck, and then I was stuck at home with a tiny baby. Like, normally, I think when I've got a tiny baby, I'm reading, I'm reading, I'm reading, I'm feeding, I'm reading, I'm feeding, I'm reading. Like, there's a lot you can do with a tiny baby that you have to just sit still. So previously, when I've had tiny babies, I read a lot. So most of my books in 2020 were read before lockdown, not afterwards. I just kind of stopped reading. So I read 63 books in 2020, and my goal for 2021 was to read one more because my reading sort of picked up again towards the end of the year. So my goal was 64 books, and I smashed it. And towards the end of the year, I was like mentally updating my list to maybe 100 books. And I smashed that goal too. So my goal again for 2022 is 100 books and to have fewer than 47 books on my TBR, my physical TBR, by the end of the year. They're not all going to be the same books because I read a lot of Kindle, especially when I'm getting baby to sleep and so on. And so let's get into the roundup from Goodreads. So the first thing I should say is that I can hear a cat snoring on the windowsill, so I'm really sorry about that if you can too. She's fine, she just likes to sleep on the windowsill behind me. So 34,912 book pages, 104 books, because on average my books were 335 pages long, which I guess an average book is about 400 pages, maybe that's a bit shorter. My shortest book was, I read 104 books in the end. So I did pretty good. My shortest book was 64 pages long. I actually listened to that in audiobook. My audiologist said because I have a processing disorder, I should listen to more audiobooks. And I'm finding a lot of the time when I start listening to books, I'm like, oh, this book is so quiet. Why can't I hear them speak up, enunciate? But like as I get into listening to the different accents, I can hear them better. So hopefully that will transfer into real life. I don't know. So my shortest book was this Poems for Two Voices, which is really sweet. It's about insects, and it's always like a pair of insects or a couple of insects reading together, and it's kind of sweet, and it's really short. My longest book was The Priory of the Orange Tree. It is by Samantha Shannon. I loved it. And I turned around and bought a copy for my niece as well because I loved it so much, because it's sort of long form, epic fantasy, but more women focused than it usually is. Like there are actual female characters. But it's really, really, again, it's really lovely. If you like epic fantasy, then give it a go. Most popular, Becoming by Michelle Obama. This one I read in audiobook. Read by Michelle herself. And I found it fascinating. And sometimes I found Obama infuriating because her politics are so unlike mine. But that was always going to be the case. She is much more right-wing than her husband, or much more uninterested in politics and kind of trying to find a middle ground, which in the US is right of me considerably. So I found that quite infuriating. My least popular was Raising Chickens, which was just the chicken book that the library had. It's not particularly great, but I wanted to read a book about chickens, or a couple of books about chickens, before getting my chickens. So I got chickens this year, so yay me. They're quite sweet and they lay lots of eggs. Highest rated on Goodreads, Uncommon Cruelty by Liz Mystery. Mystery writes police procedurals, and they're quite dark but really good. So yeah, and she speaks a lot from her communities, her Polish community, Pakistani community here in Britain, and it's brilliant work, and you should definitely go and check them out. Oh, excuse me. Okay, The Golem and the Genie. That was really lovely. If you like books about golems or genies or romances, then that's one for you. I'll Be Home for Christmas by Dan Duane. Again, very short, very cute. Lots of chalet school books. Oh, this was my big find of the year, was Donna Andrews. Now, these are cozy mysteries set in New England, in, that place, what's it called? One of the really old touristy towns in America, Yorktown maybe. And she's a blacksmith. The protagonist is a blacksmith, and it's got this brilliant cast of like really weird family, and it's so lovely, and she's so lovely, and all the people are so lovely, and all the books are named after bird puns, and they're cozy mysteries. Okay, some of these, Anita Waller, some really great female-based mysteries, and she's got a really great exponent of the competent older woman trope, which is a great trope. I love that one. Olivia Day, we'll come back to her in a minute. She is Tasmanian. I don't know much about Tasmania, but she makes it sound so lovely. And The Swimmers and Piranesi. These books, obviously I read them at about the same time, and they went into my head as being very similar books. They're both kind of eco-fiction, about people who've lost their way and need to find themselves, sort of. So if you liked one, you should read the other, and if you like the other, you should read, if you liked one of them, you should read the other one, because you'll probably like that. And if you want to start with one of them, then I would start with this one, The Swimmers, because it's just so lovely. Fire was a reread for me. City of Ghosts is really sweet trilogy about a little small girl who died, and she came back to life, and now she can see ghosts, and she can help them be at peace. Smallest Mystery, Patricia Briggs. I love Patricia Briggs. She's absolutely wonderful werewolf books. Give it a go if you have any way of trying that. Fireheart Target was lovely. It's got dragons and tigers and fires and people who love each other and found family and all that kind of stuff. My Life was a White Trash Zombie. It was like there were vampires and there were werewolves and now there are zombies, and it's kind of like pulp fantasy, but it's definitely fun. It's fun. What else have we got? Oh, Wonder Woman Warbringer by Leigh Bardugo. Even if you don't like superhero books, it's worth a go if you like feminist fighting books. Here is the baby come to get me for dinner. I'll be there in a moment, my darling. Okay. Before the Coffee Gets Cold. That's a really good one. It's about a cafe in which you can time travel, but you can only go backwards, and you have to sit in a particular chair, and you have to get back before your coffee gets cold. And it's about it's so limited time travel, but there are very few people who make use of it. But when you do use it, it can be really sweet and really lovely, and there's lots of lovely family relationships in there. Camp is just adorable. It's a coming out young person about a summer camp, and it's just lovely. What else have we got? House in Cerulean Sea was one of my audiobooks that I took quite a long time to get into, but again, it's a very sweet family family story about someone who's too buttoned up. It's kind of about residential schools, and it's kind of about found family and love, and it's really sweet. I'd definitely give that a go if you fancy that. Black Sun is a science fiction based on Navajo mythology, and it hits all my buttons. It's got mythology and outer space, and it's brilliant. Defy the Night, I'm really not sure how I feel about that. I'm definitely going to come back and read that again, because I was left just not sure. It's about a plague and some people who are fighting to protect the general people, and the royals look like they're not doing anything. And it's about stratified society and where you should step up and who you should step up and how they should step up. And yeah, it's really thinky. And the last one I wanted to tell you about, oh, there's more books. There aren't very many more books. Merry Happy Valkyrie. This is Livia Day, who wrote the mystery Tasmanian mysteries that I was telling you about earlier, writing fantasy. I think Tansy Rayner Roberts might be her wallet name. I don't remember. But this is a brilliant short novel novella about Vikings that live in Tasmania and how they celebrate Christmas. And if that doesn't sound like the most amazing thing ever, then you probably don't want to read this book. But as it is the most amazing thing ever. And it's so sweet. And it's like a Christmas rom-com. But in a book, it's just gorgeous. Horrid by Katrina Leno. I really love this book. It's about a woman dealing with grief and coming of age. Like she's like late teens, early adulthood. And she's coming to terms with her grief and who she is as a person and a move across country. And it is wonderful. And I loved it. And it was another one of my audiobooks. So, yeah. So that's where I'm at. And as I say, I've set my challenge for this year for 100 books. Let me know if you liked any of those books. Let me know if you didn't like any of those books. If there's anything based on those books you think I might like, I will definitely take a look at them. And I will see you soon. Bye.